In this video, we're going to talk about how to become a politician. And I'm going to let you in on a really big secret. All you need to do is run for office, and that makes you a politician in the eyes of the voters. Problem solved? Well, tell you what, if you'd like to know how to become a successful politician, run for office and win election, stick around because I got a lot to share with you. There are certain essentials to a career in public life, and it starts with what you got between your ears because you do have to know some fundamentals about how government works. Voters will expect that you have done things in your life that demonstrate that you have your feet on the ground. You really need to be passionate about fixing a problem in order to have a successful political career. And then there are going to be a few other fundamentals I'm going to share with you in the course of this video that are great tips on how to get started. First and foremost, if you really have an interest in getting involved with politics, I'm going to start with your head. If you're going to run for an office, voters are going to expect that you have some fundamental understanding of how government works, that you have some fundamental understanding of the power you are asking for and what you can and cannot do with it. Now, I tell you, a few years ago, someone called me and said they wanted to run for Congress. And during a 2-minute conversation, I discovered he didn't know how many members of Congress there were. And I immediately ended the conversation. I said, look, you can hire me to teach you high school civics, or you can go buy a book. But if you're going to run for office, you need to fill your head first. So you have to be taking this seriously. If you don't know fundamentally how government works, if you don't know fundamentally what the office that you're running for has the power to do, go educate yourself because voters are unforgiving of ignorance on that. You're asking for a job. They expect you to know what you can do in that job. Second thing here is voters ultimately are going to judge you on the basis of what you've done in your life, especially the first time you're running. And they need to know what I say is you got your feet on the ground. Now, here's one thing that kind of proves that you do. If you're married and if you have children, well, you've had responsibility. You know what that's like. It's not easy. If you got yourself through college or graduate school, if you've paid student loans, that, frankly, is something that a lot of voters think, okay, all right, that proves they're not a silly, stupid clown here. All right. Now, the older you are, the more they're going to expect of you. All right. Did you ever serve in the military? Have you been involved in your community? Have you ever volunteered for a civic organization? Have you ever given time to a charitable cause? This is part of putting some things on your resume that you can tell voters that prove that you have your feet on the ground, that you care about your community, and that you have good reasons for asking them to give you the power to have some say-so over their quality of life and the way they live it. The next thing I'm going to mention is the importance of your passion. You really need to be passionate about what you're doing, or otherwise the sheer amount of work that goes into a political campaign will really drag you down. So what are you passionate about? Well, if you don't know, here are a few ways to find out. Read the newspapers. You know what newspapers do? They print stories about problems. If you see in a newspaper a problem that seems to defy solution and you're interested enough to read the story, that tells you something. Go online, spend an hour or two online and just go look at stuff that interests you. Now, probably you already have some notion of a problem that you'd like to fix, but I'm going to tell you other ways to find it if you're not yet quite sure. And I'm going to mention here a story. I was talking to a candidate in Pennsylvania a couple of years ago, and he says, I got 2 things I could run for, and I just can't decide. There's an open U.S. Senate seat, and there's an open governor's race. And I said, I can't decide which of those 2 to run for because they both look promising. He said, what do you think? I knew the answer, but I didn't tell him. My answer was a question. I said, well, you're sitting there. You got a pen? He said, yeah. I said, jot down 5 or 6 things that you would like to do if you had the power to do it. He did. A couple minutes later, he started reading the list. And I said, I think you just answered your own question. And he said, why? I says, everything you mentioned can be fixed by a governor, and not a thing that you mentioned can be fixed by a U.S. senator. Now, here's a case of someone who was passionate but still trying to figure out how he got the power to fix it, and that clarified him, and he did run for governor. Voters expect you to be passionate about something, and it's a magnetic thing that's a key component of your political campaign. Why do you want the power? Well, it's to do good things for people. Wrong, you're going to right. An injustice that you're going to correct. A policy that you're going to use to improve people's quality of life. Your mission in becoming a politician is to become an expert on those things that you would like to do, filling your head with information, and being passionate about it when you go talk to voters. If you got any questions about what I'm saying or any comment to share, I will read the comments. You leave a question, I will answer it. A couple of other things about becoming a politician. There is a truth that we don't acknowledge, but it's a truth about politics. Let's say you live in a community and you someday get the notion that you would like to serve, and maybe your community is composed of 8 or 10 or 15 or 20,000 people, whatever the size here. What you'll find is that there are rank and file voters whose voices matter when they vote. And then there's a subset of those rank and file voters whose voices matter a lot more just when they open their mouth. They may be people in your community that have enormous amounts of wealth. They could be the president of the Rotary or the Kiwanis Club or the Lions Club. They could be the head of the Chamber of Commerce. They could be a set of public officials. You know what? It's a lot easier to win an election if you have the support of a network of strong people, and if you have your own network of stout friends that really believe in you. Never, as you go through life, waste time being a friend and making a friend. And once you make a friend that is worth keeping, make it a point to stay in touch with that friend. This is what I can tell you about people who were elected to office at a very, very young age. They did it with a strong network, not only of people that they had known and come to know from grade school and college and every profession, because they were just generous and kind-hearted people, and they attracted a lot of friends, and because they took the time in their community or the jurisdiction where they wanted to run to get involved with organizations that allowed them to rub shoulders with powerful people that they would need to get what they wanted. There is no sin in that. In fact, the more of that you do, the more influential people you are going to meet. One other thing that we should talk about is, as you prepare and as you meet people and as you develop your knowledge and your agenda, you'll have to make a decision someday when an opportunity arises. Do I run? Or do I not? And I talk to a lot of candidates in this position. There is a personal side to this. Campaigns take time. They take time away from families. Campaigns, unless you're paying all of the campaign bills yourself, also require resources. So when is the time right for you? It's when your family would be happy to see you run, when your family is excited about the possibility, when your spouse and your loved one is willing to say, yes, honey, if you want to do this, it's just great. And when your family finances can afford those occasions when you, if you're self-employed, may not be earning as much money because you're spending time on the campaign trail, or if you have a job and they require you to go without pay when you're taking time off from work to do the politics. And I tell you, this is what can destroy an otherwise a good campaign. When the family finances get tight and the credit card bills mount up or checks start to bounce, when there's not enough food in the refrigerator and you're going home to a really, really unhappy spouse, about the sacrifice they have to make so that you can run for office. It will ruin your candidacy. It will ruin you. It will make the campaign a miserable experience. So when do you run? It's when the time is right for you. You can afford to do the time. The family finances will not suffer, or you got some tucked away, and you have a spouse and a family that's happy for you to be doing it. Oh, and speaking of which, there's a link to a book in this video. You might want to click on it. The title of it is The Worst Mistakes Candidates Make and How You Can Avoid Them.